Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's workshop. Today, we're going to be covering sympathetic dominance. My name is Dr. Chris. You would have seen me previously in the previous workshop. So today, we're going to be covering the topic of sympathetic dominance. So let's begin. So today, we're going to be discussing understanding the autonomic nervous system and what that looks like. What is sympathetic dominance? So what are the signs and symptoms of sympathetic dominance? What health conditions can sympathetic dominance cause? And how can chiropractic help with sympathetic dominance? So to begin with, we're going to start by understanding the autonomic nervous system. Okay. So the nervous system is the master control system of our body. So the nervous system comprises of both the CNS, which is the central nervous system, and the PNS, which is the peripheral nervous system. So the central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord, whilst the PNS is made up of the spinal nerves. So if you can see here, you can see the breakdown. So we have the nervous system that breaks down spinal cord, brainstem, brain, peripheral nervous system, so everything else basically. So you have your autonomic nervous system, so your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system, as well as your somatic nervous system. I'm going to get into more details on those in a second. So the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS, can be broken down into the autonomic and the somatic nervous system. Okay. So the somatic nervous system carries sensory information from our organs to the central nervous system, so our brain and spinal cord, and relays motor commands to the muscles controlling voluntary movement. So controlling movement that we're in control of. Okay. So the autonomic nervous system regulates all the involuntary processes, meaning the things that you don't have to think about. So things like breathing. The autonomic nervous system is broken down into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system controls our fight or flight response to stressful situations. So like we're getting hunted by a pack of wolves, or we're in a fight at some point. This helps us to protect ourselves and help us get away from certain situations and flee. Whereas our parasympathetic nervous system controls our rest and digest response. So it allows us to heal and repair. Often you think of it as people who have an afternoon nap after having a big feed. So that's what kind of brings on that parasympathetic nervous system response to where we feel like we want to have a nap and sleep and rest. So this brings us to sympathetic dominance. Okay, guys. So what is sympathetic dominance? So sympathetic dominance refers to when our nervous system is stuck in a fight or flight response. So it's stuck in the sympathetic nervous system, it's shifting over and it's stuck in a state where it is sympathetic and is in a fight or flight response constantly. So it occurs when a certain area of the brain is wound up, and this can be influenced by lifestyle, it can be influenced by stress, by posture, and a number of other things as well. So what happens in a fight or flight response? So there are a bunch of things that happen. So the calves muscles tighten up, so you're ready to run away. The head is moved into a forward posture, so you're ready to engage or ready to flee a situation. The digestive system grinds to a halt, as does the reproductive system, because we don't need to use those systems when we're wanting to move away and run away from the situation, essentially. The adrenal glands stop the pump, releasing adrenaline and stress hormone cortisol into the bloodstream. So that's as a result of being in a stress state. Those stress hormones are going to be released. Okay. Other things that happen include senses like sight and hearing sharpen, so that we're alert and able to be alert to any sort of incoming predators or prey. Blood flow to the muscles increases, as well as sweating. Okay. So the heart begins to beat faster. Okay. The body suppresses what it does not need in a stressful state. So again, the reproductive system and the digestive system halt up. And this is why there is suppression of the digestive and nervous system, essentially, when we're in a fight or flight response or we're sympathetically dominant. So we can see with this image here, this man is running away from a dog. And again, it shows all the different things that are happening as a result of being in a sympathetic response state or trying to flee away from the scene, essentially, and protect ourselves. So, what are the signs and symptoms of sympathetic dominance? So, the signs and symptoms of sympathetic dominance can be broken down into a number of categories. So, there are many different factors that can lead to sympathetic dominance and signs of sympathetic dominance. So, we have mental and emotional. So, constantly feeling of being on edge or wired. So, anxiety, irritability, emotional reactivity, racing thoughts or difficulty calming the mind. So feeling like you're unable to switch off your brain and you're constantly overthinking things. Difficulty focusing or memory as well. Right? So things like brain fog, essentially. So we also have sympathetic disturbances. So trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, waking up between 2 to 4 a.m. in the morning. So feeling like we're in a stress state in the middle of the night, feeling tired in the morning despite 8 hours of sleep. So achieving enough sleep, but still feeling tired as a result of the intervals that you are waking up during the night because you're in that stressed state. And vivid dreams or night sweats. So again, that we know with being a sympathetic dominant state, that you're going to have increased sweating, increased heartbeat. So even when we're at rest, because our nervous system is shifted towards being sympathetic or in a flight or fright response, we're going to be exhibiting a lot of those things. Muscle tension and postural changes. So this is a big one. So tight or tender upper traps and neck. Okay, so we want to bring everything forward. So we want to protect ourselves. Forward head posture is going to be as a result of curling our shoulders in, clenching jaw or teeth running. So as a result of just the built-up stress from being in that sympathetic nervous system area, is we're just going to be clenching a lot, grinding our teeth because we're constantly under stress. Shoulder tension and headaches. So that's going to be as a result of, again, the upper traps, the head coming forward, the lack of sleep, a lot of variables that come into the headache component of why headaches will be caused because of this. Increased tension in the spinal muscles. So again, we're just going to be seeing a lot of muscle and postural changes as a result of wanting to protect ourselves and as a result of, again, being in a sympathetic state, stress state. Breathing and cardiovascular. So people experience shallow or rapid breathing, so chest breathing, breath holding when focused or stressed, racing heart palpitations. So with an increased heartbeat, okay, we're going to have heart palpitations because everything's just stressed out around us. Cold hands and feet. Okay, so reduced circulation. So your body is going to be prioritizing sending blood to the heart and getting the heart pumping. So our hands and our feet, so our extremities, are going to be a lot colder because there's a lack of blood supply that's going there because your body's trying to prioritize sending the blood supply to the other areas because it's under the impression that those areas need the blood supply essentially. Okay, so lightheadedness and dizziness when standing up. Okay, so that's another symptom now. So hormonal and metabolic. So this is a big one. So low libido. So your body's not going to be prioritizing the reproductive system, so it's going to suppress it. So that's going to basically result in decreased hormonal levels. So for men, decreased testosterone, and for women, that's going to be decreased or estrogen, increased belly fat or trouble losing weight. So that's another one. Sugar cravings or afternoon energy crashes. So people who are more sympathetically dominant because of a lack of energy and a lack of sleep are going to be more dependent on things like sugar cravings to boost up their energy levels. And as a result of things like having sugar and having caffeine, they're going to experience an afternoon crash essentially as a result of having a reliance on those sorts of things for energy. Menstrual irregularities or premenstrual syndrome, so in women. So that, again, as a result of having an imbalance in terms of what's happening hormonally between progesterone and estrogen in women and in testosterone and estrogen in males, there's going to be primarily an imbalance that's going on between those two. And that's shown with low testosterone and estrogen imbalance in men. Okay. digestive and immune system. So people are going to experience bloating. They can experience bloating, constipation, loose stools. So things like IBS, because again, you're not prioritizing your digestive system. So that's not going to be functioning optimally. Indigestion, acid reflux, low immunity, so frequent colds or slow recovery, food intolerance or increased sensitivity to smells and sounds. So again, you're going to be on alert. So that's why we have those symptoms of sympathetic dominance for that. So what conditions can sympathetic dominance cause? So it can cause leaky gut syndrome, okay? It can cause irritable bowel syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, Graves' disease and Hashimoto's thyroiditis, anxiety and depression, estrogen dominance, hormonal dysregulation, adrenal failure, hypertension, thoracic outlet syndrome, and much more. So there's a bunch of things that sympathetic dominance can actually cause health-wise in terms of different syndromes, so collections of signs and symptoms, and also just a bunch of other things as well on top of that. Now you can see here, so we have the parasympathetic nervous system versus the sympathetic nervous system. So again, we have the responses that are occurring along the spinal cord chain, or the sympathetic ganglion chain. And we can see here, parasympathetic, you get constriction of the pupils, whereas in a sympathetic dominant state, you have dilation of the pupils. You can have stimulation of saliva for parasympathetic, inhibition of salivation because you're not prioritizing eating and digesting food, slow heartbeat for parasympathetic, increased heartbeat for sympathetic, constricted airways and relaxed airways for sympathetic, and you have the rest of those differences between parasympathetic and sympathetic responses there as well. Okay. So how can chiropractic care help with sympathetic dominance? So chiropractic care is essential for dismantling sympathetic dominance. So specific adjustments have a significant impact on your structure and the function of your body and nervous system. So there are 3 reasons why these specific adjustments are essential. 1, they correct your posture. They increase root movement and oxygenation through the upper back and the back area. And they ensure optimal neurological function. So correct posture. So the posture issue is of utmost importance in sympathetic dominance. So not only does it wind up in this area, in this upper chest and back area attributed to sympathetic dominance, but rounded shoulders and a forward head spells trouble and can predispose it as well. So increased rib movement and oxygen. So when our posture is locked up, with forward head posture and rounded shoulders, our ribs can become locked up as well. So this has an impact on oxygenation, so the amount of oxygen that you can fill into your lungs, which in turn impact many other areas. So by releasing these ribs, we can improve that oxygenation that we get to the lungs and can bring us out of a sympathetic state. So not only this, but we often see immediate improvements with things like thoracic outlet syndrome. Okay. So optimal neurological function. So chiropractic adjustments are essential for optimal neurological function in the human body. So this is the most important aspect of how adjustments can influence our nervous system and our regulation of our nervous system. So there are an estimated 100 billion neurons in your body. They're busy communicating from your brain to your back, or your body and your back, as well as taking information from your environment and making decisions based on it. Okay, so it's taking in the stimuli and responding to it as well. So we have a bunch of neurons in our body that are responsible for that. Our nervous system is the master control system for that. So if our nervous system isn't regulated, then everything else is going to be messed up. So in sympathetic dominance, this information is often interpreted as fight or flight when it shouldn't be. So we have all this stimulation coming in. Your body thinks, oh, I've got to interpret this as fight or flight. I want to flee the scene. You get all those different changes that you see in a sympathetic state. So ensuring optimal neurological function is very important, as it helps to minimize distortions of the messages that are flowing up and down the spinal cord and affecting every nerve, cell, and tissue in the body. Okay. So ultimately, chiropractic adjustments shift the autonomic nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Okay. So it can bring us from being in an inflammatory state or fight or flight to a rest and digest state. Okay. So repair and healing. Now, taking the next step, so to truly address how well your nervous system is functioning, professional trained chiropractors take a holistic look at your spine, look from a thorough history and physical examination to see if you are sympathetically dominant. Okay, using advanced techniques that can identify how your structure of your spine and the functions of your nervous system may be holding you back from feeling your best, and may use X-ray imaging to get a detailed view of your spine. Okay, so health is not how you feel, your body can heal. Call the practice, book the appointment, and transform your life. So to make an appointment, give us a call. There's our contact information at the bottom of the screen there. Okay, and follow us on socials, so on Facebook at Provolution Health for upcoming workshop, educational content, and our community, as well as head over to our YouTube channel for a bunch of other educational videos. And again, give us a call to make an appointment or email us at info@provolutionhealth.com.au. And that is it. All right. So did anyone have any questions before I finish this presentation off? No? Okay. That's all good. All right. Lovely. And have a good night. Thank you for listening.